In this tutorial series, we are going to create this game called Tap Out. So this is a platformer game, and the way it works is the player can either jump or walk on the platforms, and the more the player walks on the platform, the more points he gains, and the more he jumps, the more points he loses. The goal is to gain as much points as possible with the minimum number of jumps. So we'll be creating first a title screen where the user can check out the rules, and once you have gone through the rules, then the player can start playing. Look at the score box here. Notice when I am jumping, my score is getting reduced, and as I am walking on the platforms, it is increasing. Yeah, so if I just keep on jumping, you'll see my score will reach 0 and I'll die. Also, if you touch the bottom, you'll die. So this is the game. Before we jump into the coding, I think that it is very important that we should understand how this game is actually working. So for that, we need to go through some concepts of object-oriented programming. So let's do that first. So when we are playing a game, we actually deal with physical entities and real life objects like a player, a monster, a person, a skateboarder, or any other thing. So all of these are real life entities, and we want to replicate the behavior of these entities. So in code, classes and objects help us attach behavior to virtual objects such that they behave like a physical entity or a real life entity. So how this works is, for example, we want to create a person in our game. So we can simply create something like a class person. That's it. Now inside this person, we can then define the functionalities that we want our person to attain. For example, I want my person to walk. That's important. So we can create a function and we can write some code to make this person walk. So do not worry about this coding part. I'll be going in detail with this, but just understand how we are working with this. So we can make a function like walk. We can also create a function like jump, and when we use this function, the person will jump. Similarly, we can create endless functions like this which define the functionality of that object. So now this is looking good, but how do we actually use this onto our class? So we can simply create an instance of the class that we have just created. For example, we can write person p1. This will create a person onto our game scene. Now we can add functionality to this person by using the classes that we have just made. So we can write something as p1 dot walk. So when this function will get executed, the person will appear to walk on the game. Similarly, we can write something like p1 dot run. The person will appear as if it's running. So similarly, if you write p1 dot jump, the person would jump. So now if we see on the title screen, whatever you are seeing here are nothing but simple images. So this is an image, this is not an image, but this is a sprite sheet. But other than that, everything is image. Even this background is also an image which is slowly moving onto the left side. So to give you a gist, what we are doing is, when we are creating this person p1, we need to attach an image with it. So I attach this image, this person's image, through person p1, and when I am writing this walk function or jump function, I'll actually manipulate that image in a way such that it appears as if the person is walking, the person is jumping, the person is shooting, and so on. So you can create such classes, these functions on your own, but it is very time consuming. That's why we are using Phaser. So Phaser has already got such predefined functions inside it which resemble most of the physical entities that are there. So you can directly use these classes, create objects through these classes, and attach your images to these classes, and then Phaser will take care of the rest. So now, for example, if I want to create an enemy, so how can I do that? I know that my enemy will also have properties like walking, jumping, running, and apart from these properties, I also want a property such as shooting. So instead of creating a separate enemy class, we can inherit the properties of this person class onto our enemy class and add certain more properties if we want. So we can write something like class enemy, and we are going to inherit it. So we are going to extend the person class, extend the person class. So now inside this enemy class we have inherited this walk, jump and run properties, and we can further also add a property called shoot. In fact, you can even manipulate the inherited properties. For example, if I want the enemy to walk in a certain way, so I can redefine this walk property which has been inherited from the person class. So you get the gist. Now let us understand the concept of game scenes. Everything that you see on a game is actually a scene. This is the title scene. Now when I start playing, that will be the actual game scene. Similarly, you can have different levels, have different scenes, and like that. And every game is actually made by combining all these scenes in a specific way such that the user likes it. So every scene will actually be a class, and it will have 3 functions inside it. So let me just make a scene here. This is the function where you defined all the images, assets, audio, video, everything that you are going to use in that scene. If we are creating this title scene, so in the preload function of this scene, I'll load this tap out icon, these 2 platforms, the user, and all these things. Now once these images gets loaded, we need to place these certain images at certain points. We need to place this tap out icon at the center of the screen. Similarly, the place should lie below it. So we need to initialize the coordinates of these assets before the game starts. That's what we do in the create function. Now finally we have got update. So this is the function that keeps on running in background when we are playing the game. Just to give you an example, suppose this player is running, and if it falls down, the game automatically stops. So why does that? Because an if statement inside update which checks whenever the player body is touching the ground, trigger game over. We can add conditionals inside this which the game will keep on checking while it's running, or we can add the point system and all these stuff which needs to be updated constantly while the game is being run. So that is done inside this update function. So this is the basic idea how an actual game works and how classes and objects are used to create games. So in the upcoming tutorial, we'll dive deep into the code. We'll be going through a lot of concepts that are required for game development. Thanks for watching, and I'll meet you in the next video.